welcome to another episode of the Monkey Business Show. Today I'm fanboying because look who we have today with us. Synderen Sunsfan. We say things, the crossover, the multiverse. We're finally together.
Who's podcasting who?
Who is podcasting who? I don't know. I feel like we should let them do it, you know? They've done 162 episodes
That's
of my favorite podcast.
I think we should just sit down and learn.
I mean, we've had you on.
Your own podcast is not your favorite? Yeah, that's true.
I would say that I don't listen as often to my own podcast as I listen to your podcast, you know? My own voice is not what I choose when I'm eating. It's like, let's have my own lunch, you know, while I hear to my own voice.
Well, that makes sense because I can't, any of my stuff that I make, whether it's the podcast or not, I can't listen to either because Synderen's voice is it's not my own. It's just Synderen. So.
Every time before you go to bed, you listen to your hero introductions on the Dota Cinema channel.
Oh yeah, those are classic there.
That's what gets you going, you know, your own voice. Oh yeah, I got it. Well, today was very exciting because I actually never met Synderen and Sunsfan before Arlington. And Arlington, I finally met you, Sunsfan, and I obviously had the moment where it's like, dude, you don't know me, but I've been watching you for many, many, many years, you know? There's a lot of lonely nights that we shared together. It was mostly one way, you know?
The parasocial relationship, yeah.
Yep.
It's really hard to answer to that, Jay. When people do that, it's just fucked up. It's super fucking weird. It's like, oh, okay, so what kind of idea do you have of me? Nice. I don't know. There's no good answer.
Just be funny, right? Be funny right now. Be funny. But no, he was very nice. You know, he was like, "Oh, hello, stranger." And I told him like, "Look, we would love to have you in the podcast, and maybe we can bring together. We'll buy Synderen, you know, so he doesn't feel left out." But no, it was an awesome moment for me, you know.
How was it?
It was great having a nice conversation at the. It was in front of the crowd. That was the one day I was in front of the crowd. I got to see how small the fucking monitor was for everybody attending the major. And I was like, that doesn't seem right. But yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. And it was nice officially meeting you. Obviously, I knew who you were beforehand, but making it seem like you're a complete stranger.
I would say that it's been a little bit hard for me, like the imposter syndrome, because since I've been in OG, I've only been like to 2 events. All the rest have been like a COVID CEO. So I never really take photos with the fans until this event. In this event, fans were taking photos with me. And I'm like, so I don't know. It's a very strange situation for me.
And we didn't get COVID. I was fucking shocked.
But I have COVID 3 times already, so I got over it. You know,
Artem was feeling ill, and he thought he had COVID. He tested himself, and it was negative. But he thought for a moment, because I caught it after the Stockholm major. I was like, when he told me he was feeling ill, I was like, oh boy. And the Dota major. Who's had it?
Many
so
people
Jay has had it 3
Stockholm.
times?
Yeah, I got it from Stockholm too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, all the casters got it. It was
question is, who was patient
Stockholm
0?
strain.
It's probably insane. Yeah.
I don't know who is patient 0, but I know who is patient 1 through 3 and 4. You know.
So how was it for you guys? Was it bad? Was it rough?
Do you want to go first, Shannon?
Are you talking about the major or?
No, I was talking about the COVID.
I had it. No. It was whatever. It was like a cold. It wasn't anything major for me. I think Synderen had it worse than me. I think Jenkins had it worse. It sounds like everybody had it worse than me.
For me, it was
actually
bad for like 2 days, and then I had a cough for a month, which was really annoying. Oh. Eventually, it just went away. But yeah, I had a long-term cough. I don't know why, but I only had it once.
So my first COVID was I got the early OG, you know? I got the December 2019 COVID. Oh. And I was coughing for a year.
Yeah, that's...
Oof.
Oof.
You're trying to match the amount of COVID you've had with the OG TI winning? They got one more to go then to catch up, right?
And then you got to get it again.
Yeah, we have to catch up now.
So how was the major for you guys? Obviously, this is one of my first majors in Dota. And how was the whole experience for you guys? Being back in the USA, you know, Arlington, watching a tiny screen from far away.
Yeah, what was it like for you, Synderen?
It was pretty chill. You did great. It was funny to watch you and Jenkins on camera together. You were wearing a t-shirt with a horse on it, and he was wearing a full Texan 6-piece outfit. So you guys just fit each other perfectly.
Oh my god, the outfits! Oh my god.
That's the one thing that sometimes you go on Reddit sometimes you go on Reddit just to see what the reaction is from people, like just to see, okay, am I doing this correct? Obviously, you're not going to look at every single comment. Like one negative comment's not going to stray. There's so many comments about attire that you should be wearing, quote unquote, should be wearing at an event. And it's like, that is something I refuse to abide by. Like the most I will dress up is at TI, which I did last year, which is a jacket and a semi-nice shirt, but then of course I'm going to wear a tie that's fucking ridiculous with Gabe's face on it, right? It's got to be something weird. Tie. There's no way I can't do like a full suit. I can't be that guy. It's just too try hard. I don't like that from traditional sports. I never did.
But then you rocked up to the
I was glad to be able to wear a t-shirt every day.
You wore a t-shirt with the bird emoji from WhatsApp on it. On the
oh my god.
Oh, it's so good. I mean, we love that shirt. It's like an internal joke among talent from the DPC coverage from Stockholm or whatever. But the fact that you pulled that off at a major stage, I thought was hilarious.
It's funny though, because when you go to an event, they're like business casual, right? And that doesn't mean anything because I conduct my business at home. I'm literally wearing pajamas right now. So I didn't go that far at least. But at TI, they're like, make sure you feel comfortable. I'm like, are you sure? Because I will take that to the fucking extreme. But the major itself, I thought was I mean, there was obviously some issues, but just the fact that it was in the US for me, it was just a fucking dream. Like the last LAN in front of a crowd was Captain's Draft, which we ran, and I couldn't even enjoy it because I was so stressed out by the whole thing. So not having to travel that much was just amazing for me.
How was Texas?
I love the crowd.
How is Texas during that time of the year? Like how hot is it?
Humid as fuck.
Yeah. And what was the venue like?
Very hot.
The venue. Well, the nice thing about the venue was that it was almost connected to where we were staying at the hotel. Not for the players. Players apparently got fucked and they were in like some hotel.
Yep.
But the casters, we got to just walk like 2 minutes and we were inside the stadium, which is really nice. But the stadium, I shouldn't say the stadium. It was more like a convention center, so kind of small.
And
like
it's flat.
Fit up to 2,500 people.
It's flat. So there's
all flat. There's no elevation at all there.
Okay, it reminds me of the MLG Columbus. I think it was also in a just giant.
It's literally the same thing. It's literally the same thing. So the problem is because there's no elevation, the back seats are very, very far away from the screen because there is just a linear distance, and the screen is not very big. So I would say if you were in the first half, you could more or less enjoy it. If you were in the second half, I have no idea what's going on. I had my glasses on and I couldn't see.
Show up with binoculars to a Dota event. Everybody's sitting there like fucking bird watchers on the
like the dog race or like the horse races. And like,
They've run events there before and it's been fine, which I can probably agree with because it's fighting games or like FPS games like CS. You don't need to see like little tiny pixels. They don't really matter. Whereas Dota, there's so many different small things that you need to look at that it's actually unwatchable after a certain point.
So I guess you couldn't see like the inventory, the minimap and stuff like that, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
No buybacks. I didn't know buybacks. I didn't know net worth. I didn't know, do you have enough gold to, like, nothing.
Yeah, that ain't good.
Yeah, it was really hard to follow it. But I think that the crowd was amazing. Look, I didn't go to Malaysia to the last one, but the crowd was awesome. And there was like this energy that I haven't felt because, you go to other events in North America and maybe we all have this perception that North America is not as hype, but this event was hype as hell. It was really, really cool.
It helped that the games were really good too, especially the finals.
Yeah.
No-Till, you played in Benaroya, right? At TI3.
Yes.
For Fnatic.
Yeah.
I thought that venue, that was also NA, right? That was in Seattle. That venue was amazing for like.
It was kind of cool
because it was a concert hall, right? I thought it was.
Yeah. So, but not that many people could fit, right? It was only like
2K, I think.
Yeah, 1,000 between 1,000 2,000 or something. But it felt like movie theater almost, and you're going there to like have that type of show. I could definitely dig that a lot too. Of course, it would be sad if you go to a place where a lot more people want to watch, but in places like US or places where Dota scene may not be, as you cannot fill a full stadium of like 10,000 plus or more, I would like that type of deal a lot. Yeah. I think it was cool, like the movie theater vibe.
Benaroya is probably my favorite.
Really?
I don't think anything's compared. Like we ran Captain's Draft with 2,000 people. This tournament had 2,000 people. The feel is still different than Battle Royale. Yeah. That was, maybe it's just nostalgia, but so I liked it a lot.
I'm gonna make like one of those predictions. I predicted that TI was gonna be in Singapore a year and a half ago. This is my prediction for 2023. We're going back to Seattle.
It's all done, right? The key arena and the whatever construction they're doing.
Do you think they're gonna?
I think it's called the Climate Change Arena now.
Really?
If I'm not mistaken.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. Usually it's some sponsor. Like I don't.
If you're a climate change denier, you can get in.
The World is Dying Arena. That just sounds odd,
very
right?
Seattle.
I don't know.
Very, very Seattle.
Yeah, I think the only negative with coming to the U.S. is visa issues, right? Which I think have gotten better. I mean,
Arlington was not great.
For some people, literally impossible during the Trump administration. So it's gotten a little bit better, but I don't know how much better.
Wasn't it literally 5 teams
that's the only question
by visas for Arlington, though?
Mm-hmm. But this is my theory. Okay,
it might be better in a year, though, for sure.
So I believe that normally the last major is the one that they test for the next TI. So they're testing a North American major. Remember, the China major, Singapore major, and we're going there. And I feel that North America needs that whole like center event. And I believe this is now where I go a little bit too far. So Valve is in Seattle, and TI in Seattle was like a celebration of the whole company, not only the Dota team. Everybody used to go there, their kids, their families. And if the Dota team is listening to me, it's like bring the event back to Seattle, because it's a way for you to bring a bring to your whole company, a win to the whole company. And Seattle is still, for me, is the best TI ever going. The way that it was organized and outside, all the food courts and the events outside.
I think also what makes it so special is that Valve is there and they do those small things extra, like give you the tour, take you out for dinner, or have like a something. At least when you're young and you get into it, like it's super special. And now some of those things are maybe it's still fun. It just has a different ring to it. But back then, it made you look at everything like, wow, like shit. You know, it was more prestigious.
I remember going to the Valve offices, and that's the most impressed I was, because they have a full fucking cafeteria with. It's like you're at a convenience store. There's every drink. There's Snickers. There's bagels.
I remember
that's the best part about TI for me, was eating their bagels.
Yes, I miss TI.
You're gonna love
TI.
I love that shit.
Man, all you can eat Snickers. that was the best.
But I haven't gotten to see their new offices. I bet it's even better than before. There's a whole fucking Circle K in there, for God's sake.
So do you think it's possible that we do TI in Seattle next year?
I think so.
Where would if you had to take a bet?
Ooh. Yeah, I think one negative of having NTI from Valve's perspective is, I know a lot of the, like you're talking about the positive sides of Valve working the event. I think they don't want to work TI anymore. I think that's why we're seeing it like other places now, because it's less of a headache for them. But the fact that they haven't done it in a while means that maybe they are missing.
Well, can't money buy everything? Or at least this, like, can't
not happiness.
No, not happiness. But
well, if you could run it in another country, you can also run it in your own, right? Like you can have the same involvement but have it in Seattle.
Yeah. Like, don't take all the headaches on you.
Well, the reason I guess I can't speak for this TI because I don't know anything. But last TI, there were like 5 employees. I shouldn't say 5. There were very few Valve employees. A lot of them didn't make the trip.
Correct.
Right? That could be looked at as a benefit depending on how they feel about it.
But if you run it in Seattle, you can still let it be opt-in for employees, right? So you can choose to go if you want to, but it's no pressure. Yeah. I would imagine some of them would want to go because they love being a part of the event, and then maybe take less of a working role, but just go there for fun, like JMR said, with like family, friends, whatever, hang out. Because that was definitely something I agree was very different when we had TI in Seattle, was like that feeling of like just the raw magnitude of Valve employees that were around the event, like, you know, as a part of it, or that, like Johan said, that you went out for dinner and there was a lot of them, or the players party or whatever. Like, it was a different.
See, the downside of this, though, another downside, I'm going to be the negative Nancy here, is that I'm so awkward on Valve employees. The more there are, the more chance I have to put my foot in my mouth, right? First time I met Yule, Synderen brought him up to me brought him up to me in Seattle. I had no idea who the fuck this guy was. Okay, he's like, guess who this is? I'm like, Ice Frog. Like, no, keep guessing. So I kept guessing. I said, and I finally said Yules with a plural S. And Synderen started laughing. I had no idea why. He's like, this is Yule, singular. And they made a big deal about that and embarrassed me in front of this Valve employee. Then, a few years later, was doing Artifact for PAX West, and a bunch of Valve employees walk into this, like, because we're going to a restaurant. They meet us at the hotel, and they're walking us. And I start saying hello to everybody. I say, hello, nice to meet you. It was Yule. I didn't realize until after the fucking event. I'd reintroduced myself. I'd never met him before, I thought. I didn't realize until later. So if it's in Seattle, I'm just going to look like a fucking moron constantly.
It would be okay if you third
keep
time in a row. If you meet
Wrangler,
again and you don't recognize me again, that would be a me. But hey, nice to meet you.
Sorry, Yule. I'm so sorry.
If the only thing we need is like a Sunsfan Wrangler, I think we can all pitch in, and they still have it in Seattle.
Yeah, by all means.
The whisperer, it's Jules. You met him before. He's like, oh yeah.
That's what I need. I thought it was so bad that some people are face blind. Have you guys heard that before? Where you can't recognize faces, right? So I took a test. Synderen and I both took a test on our podcast, and I passed with flying colors. So it's not even a fucking excuse.
Oh no!
I thought I had it, but apparently I just did not care enough to memorize his face.
You
his
remember
name.
everyone except you.
Embarrassing.
You recognize everyone else.
But I really thought that you will be a little bit more Machiavellic. So you will be taking the test and failing it on purpose. So you will have the perfect excuse. But why would you pass it?
That's true. That's too next level for me. I should have done that. That's a great catch-all excuse for later. Fuck. Yeah. I'm too honest. Well,
I think
that's the problem.
You're right when we talk about when I was in Romania, it was only 4 or 5 of the Valve employees. So it really feels like a lot of pressure for not really any payoff besides just getting to maybe you don't get to enjoy it. So that's why I think we have to bring it back. So look, my complete blind guesses, okay? There's going to be a major in Peru next year. That is my hope.
Cool.
Really?
I think there's going to be a major in Peru. Lima. Again, this is not like I have an information. It's just it makes sense.
Wow, that's great.
It makes sense. It makes sense. Like if you look at the macro scale, they need to figure out how to do a major there. And then TI in NA.
Peru was crazy when I went.
Sounds
there.
great.
I've only been once, right? I had no idea how big Dota was, but there was a family waiting for me at the airport. It's like the first autograph I gave was to some mother of a family group, and she was so insistent. They were like security. I had security with me, and they were like ready to shove them out of the way, but she wouldn't let them. Like Peru is really intense when it comes to Dota. I think it would be a lot of fun to have a major there.
It would be amazing.
What event was that?
It wasn't a Dota event. There was a Dota tournament for Beast Coast, and I don't remember who they were playing because I was chilling with Beast Coast, but just the whole thing was like Dota was the main attraction, and I was like one of the main attractions. My face was on the side of the road, like on the highway when we're driving there. It was so bizarre. The Dota there is on a different level, like the intensity, like wow, the people at the venue and everything, and like how high people were. Similar to Philippines, I would say, is like a lot of passion for the game and very cool.
So, did you guys go to Malaysia? Either of you went?
I was there.
Yeah. How was it, dude? You look amazing on camera.
Yeah, so this was my second time in SEA, actually. The last time I was there was the Manila Major, which was awesome, right? That was in 2016, I think, was it? Maybe?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it must have been, right? Because Shannon, it was with the DC. It was with that DC, right? I think so.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really cool to be back. Kind of similar to Manila. Like the fans in SEA are just, super excited about it. They're very lively. It's like the whole culture about it's just different for Dota. And then obviously something that I really enjoy when I go to a new place, I love eating different food. And it's like, the cuisine in Malaysia is super different from what I'm used to. So I tried a lot of different things, which was very nice.
Did you try durian?
I did not try durian, though. No, I did not.
Is that the fermented duck egg thing?
No,
that's
durian is a
baloo.
fruit
No,
that
it's the
smells like
the
death.
fruit that smells bad.
Yeah.
The vomited fruit, the puke banana or whatever.
I've had durian candy in Stockholm because I think it was John X Fire that brought it to the studio.
That
He
was
like,
terrible.
you guys should try this. And I was like, this is really weird. Like, it wasn't super awful, but it was definitely not great either. But yeah, what did I try that I've never had before? I had stingray. Then I had the national dish, which is nasi lemak.
For this?
Okay, so we have the rice. This is what we call nasi lemak. It's our national dish.
which is like some sort of
yeah.
rice with a type of spicy sauce and a type of meat, egg, and I'm forgetting something here. Some sort of, an additional thing that was like 2 different spicy components at the side. And then I had, what's it called? Salted egg, which is a flavor they have there that they use on different things. Salted egg, you could have it on chips, apparently. A salted egg cuttlefish, which was really, really nice. Shiva and I are just in love with that flavor. We're both like over the moon over it. You would love it, Shannon.
Really?
Yeah. You're like, this is so fucking amazing. And I
So
don't
like
know.
popcorn chips and everything, you can get like salted egg flavor.
Yeah, and I don't know why we don't have it in Europe, because I was like, this would be a banger, I think. People would love this shit. But for some reason, it just hasn't made its way over. This is a business idea for us.
Oh, probably because it's called salted egg.
Yeah.
That doesn't.
I mean, it doesn't sound that great, but it's really good.
They have to rebrand.
Supposedly, it's also very unhealthy. I think it's like very...
Oh, yeah. That sounds like I would like that.
Yeah,
You're right.
you would love it. But yeah, it was a great event, and it was cool to be back. And the tournament itself, there's always a bit random, but I think the games overall were pretty damn good. So that's obviously...
Oh, you guys got the new patch, right?
Yeah, the patch dropped after first day of groups. Ideally, it should have dropped before groups. That would have been a little bit better. But,
So I have a bunch of different topics that I want to cover with you guys. And obviously, we have to take in mind that this is not coming this Tuesday. It's coming next Tuesday.
Okay.
I have Saberlight coming tomorrow.
Okay.
So
got
for
bumped by
Tuesday,
Saberlight. I see how it is. Yeah.
So there's 2 main topics that I want to discuss. One of them is obviously about your podcast, about how it started and all that story, and also the Battle Pass.
Okay.
And I don't know how strongly you want to go against this, but I have a few things to say about the Battle Pass.
I think we just
if
wing it.
Okay, so let's start with the Battle Pass. So the very anticipated and expected Battle Pass dropped, and there is obviously a lot of Reddit threads and a lot of talks about it. Some people feel that there's a lot of things that haven't come out yet, because they will come out at the second part of the Battle Pass. And sometimes other people are saying that it's very underwhelming, the stuff in the Battle Pass. But funny enough, the collection of money has not really been that bad compared to the bad opinions about it. So anyway, I would like just to open up. What do you guys think about it? Have you guys go through it?
Yeah, I think very underwhelming was the first reaction I had. I mean, there's so many layers to this because they're still getting money, obviously, but you can see that it's still not on par with the rest of the TIs, and that's not even including that there's like 2 months less going towards the TI Battle Pass or the prize pool. So that's like a whole separate discussion, I guess. But in terms of like bang for the buck, in terms of like just value alone, it feels very underwhelming. Like, I mean, I think the Void Arcana was quite good, actually. I think a lot of people disagree with me on that one. But everything else from like a personal standpoint, I wasn't really excited for. Like Centaur Immortal, I wanted it. I got it like super early. And I don't feel like there's a reason to really level anything more because I don't want to spend 250 to get the Void Arcana. But it's disappointing because they had so much time to make it as well, right? I think that's part of it.
I was going to say, like, I feel like TI is the most important Dota festival of the year. And definitely this doesn't look like somebody who's been preparing for a full year. I don't know why. I don't know what happens. I mean, the Arcana also took a full year. Like usually it's done 6 months after or 8 months after the vote, right? It doesn't have to come in the next year's Battle Pass. So yeah, I also feel like I agree with you. The Void Arcana was good, but if that's all we're talking about, I feel is very, very underwhelming. I do think most people wanted to see like one thing is terrain. It's like the whole package deal. I think making another PvE, like at some point also making like a brand new type of PvE event for people to also enjoy. Like I never really play them, but I can see why it's such a cool thing to also have once a year, you know, with your friends, like especially your Dota friends, to play something else that's in the same engine. Yeah, I just feel like they could keep adding, like already now, you know, start planning for the next year, but I don't think this is how it kind of is. And I think it all goes back to how many people are working on it, how many people, you know, are dying for this and are really interested and are able to, yeah, I don't really know what goes into it, but some things feel different. Definitely the Battle Pass feels different.
I think it's a little bit convoluted, which I think is part of the problem that people have with this compared to last year, right? Is with all this stuff that's coming soon, you don't really know whether you should be excited about it or not because you have no idea how good it's going to be, right? Like, there's an Arcana coming out, there's a Persona coming out, and another Persona coming out. And first of all, the two Personas are for heroes that already have Arcanas, right? And if it's like everything else in the game, you can't wear them together. So I feel like they should have chosen heroes that don't have an Arcana so that you can have, you want the Persona more. But I was talking to Shannon about this, and the PA, for example, PA is the second most played hero of all time in Dota. Was that it? I think you said?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it makes sense for her to have a Persona, right? Because a lot of people will want to play this hero, but if you can't use it with the Arcana, I don't know how big a percentage of players have the Arcana. So maybe this is still great value for them, but at the end of the day, their Persona is level 300. You could buy 2 or 3 Arcanas instead, right? So, like, is that value? Is the Crystal Maiden Persona amazing? Maybe it is. It's a picture of a wolf. It could be the next amazing thing, or maybe the wolf is just a background. Like, we don't know. So that's a little bit tough to really know whether to get excited. Then we have we have 2 chests of Immortals instead of 3, and each of them have 1 less item. At least the first one does. It has 5 items, and the usual one had 6 base items, I think. So there's less there. The overall quality of the Immortals, I think Shannon, you and I thought was pretty good in the first chest. We really liked the Hoodwink. We thought that was like S tier, but the other ones were like BA, maybe B to A, and some of them were C. It's. And then for me personally, the thing that I care most about out of all of this is the support for the competitive scene, because that's what, like, my angle is always going to be with TI has been. I've had my opinion about the prize pool forever, that TI takes up too much of the year in terms of the prize pool. And this year I was hopeful, we're going to have a partitioned battle pass in 2 parts. So I was hoping the first part is going to contribute to TI. Maybe it's going to make a 20 million, 25 million prize pool. That's a really fucking big tournament. That sounds good to me. And then the second half could maybe fund the DPC. But as it sounds like, basically from sources that we've heard from like players or people that are affiliated with teams, that is not the plan. So supposedly everything that comes after TI is just 100% Valve, which, unless something changes, that's what I've heard, that the major structure for next year is the same as this year. 3 majors, the DPC season, and the same prize distribution overall, which I think is a problem, because essentially now we've had our guesses. I think Shannon said 18 mil. I think I said 20 or something like that is what we think this is going to end up on, because it's half time of usual. And just judging from how it went in the beginning, is probably where we land. So we have TI, but we don't make anything else bigger. It makes TI smaller relatively, I guess, but it doesn't really
got
help.
half the equation.
Like, what we want TI to be smaller, and then the rest of the year to be bigger. Like, I think last year TI was worth 80% of all prize money in Dota. Like, let that sink in for a second, how ridiculous it is. I think it was maybe even 85, right? 85% of all prize money for the year in one tournament. You can be the best team in the world for 7 months, and if you're not good at this one event, your year feels like a failure. And to me, that's just wrong. Like, that's not how it should be. Yeah, being the world champion should be something special. But
right, I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but the workshop has been power crept hard fucking core throughout the years. Like, we were part of the original workshop artists, I guess you could call it, like Dota Cinema, putting in sets and whatnot. We were some of the first to get like actual particle effects in the game, which was very good for my bank account at the time. But then they just disallowed that. And now sets are like so much more basic by nature. Like, you can't do effects or anything like that. And then they just reserved all those effects for TI. So all that money going to artists is now, through TI and whatnot. But it's just one of those things, like, the issue with the Battle Pass, it just wasn't sustainable, which is, I understand on some level why they're doing what they're doing, is because you're power creeping every single year trying to beat last year. And TI 10 Battle Pass was absurd if you look at it now, right? Like, absolutely fucking absurd. And I can understand on some level why they have kind of cut back a bit, but I just wish they did it in a way that would benefit the scene instead of just them, right? That's the only issue that
that would be easy. You just cap the prize pool of TI, let's say to 20, and you roll the rest of the money to the rest of the season.
Exactly. Yeah, we've been saying this I mean, this is a conversation we've had probably 100 times on the 160 podcast episodes that we've had.
I make sure to give it a shout out every second time.
It's either that or you just shitting on neutral items. One of the two. Every single time.
We should do like a bingo card for our podcast, actually. That would be pretty funny.
A drinking game.
But yeah, I kind of agree with like the whole thematical thing. The one thing that they've tried to keep this like fiery theme or whatever is in the Battle Pass collection. Like that chest has fire themed sets, but it's a bit hard to explain it, but it feels a little bit more like shoehorned in, right? And it's not the theme of the Immortals in the same way. Like I feel like the Immortals have obeyed more to a theme in previous years. This year it's just like a lot of different cool stuff, but it doesn't really, like you said, tell a story. And I just think the map is really what's missing.
I think the map too for me.
The map and some sort of custom mode, because the only custom mode they've teased is Dire Tide, and that has like nothing to do with the theme of TI at all. There's nothing that ties it together. And they don't have, I think, Shannon, the creeps you used, the crocodiles or whatever, they were part of like the theme as well, right?
I mean, it was one of the TIs. I don't know if it was actually thematic.
I think it was thematical. Wasn't that the one that was like water style or whatever?
Oh yeah, maybe you're right.
I think, and then that
terrain was a disaster.
Well. The towers this year are crabs that don't really fit the lava theme. I feel like they're just
they can live in very deep depths.
They can.
So it does technically make sense, but I think they look terrible personally.
But I think like looking at in a more simple way, just pick up a color, pick up a color and just keep it.
Mm-hmm.
If this color is red, every effect has to be red. Every set has to kind of be red. Every terrain and the towers have to be red. Keep the magmatic element, and that's it. You don't really have to overcomplicate it. And what if people like other effects? It's okay, because you have other TIs, with other colors,
Mm-hmm.
You have the purple TI and you have this other TI. So if you keep it as a theme, I think it's just more cohesive. Like I want to see a skin and say, "Oh, this is from 2021," that TI.
Yeah, I could see that.
Can't use red though. That's Crimson Witness. That's a big color.
Correct. So that's the special drops at TI.
Yeah.
Do some of the Chinese players still have those crazy sets with strange particle effects and like the fading ghost and stuff? Like I remember FY had a bunch of them. They're still in the game. They still work like that.
I think so. Yeah, I think China. The Perfect World client got like special treasures or sets or whatever.
Yeah, they do also have their own, but they had ones that also worked on European servers.
Yeah, I mean,
the Chinese care a lot.
The Chinese items work on the Western servers, but not vice versa. Isn't that how it is? Because they have like limitations for like skulls and blood and stuff on characters.
Yeah, I don't know if they work anymore, but I just remember playing in games when that was there. It was real.
Were there any cosmetics that you were like, do you think any of them actually bothered you? Like
of course, those were intense. Those were some of the most extreme. Right now, I would say there's also a few extreme ones they added, like the Mirana Moonlight Shadow that makes everyone dark. So like that makes them everybody more or less pitch black. Even though you get the sentry on them, they still have this weird pitch black animation. So if you're playing against Terrorblade Mirana, he clicks Metamorph with his set that also makes him pitch black, and he has Manta and illusions are going. You have no fucking clue. Whereas normally you would have a clue. Like you should know. And in fact, like the game is telling you with basic skins, you should know which one is the real TB when you're dealing with no Manta, but like Conjure Image and Moonlight Shadow and Meta. But now you actually can't. And I would say that's like the most extreme. And then there's like the Ursa set, which I think you can get used to. The red one, where you're actually not sure if he enrages, like if you don't play with the sound cue, or like if you're not sure, and if he goes fog, like he's actually so red that he could be enraged by like glancing. I think you can get used to it, but in the beginning, when people started playing with that, a lot of us were bothered by that one too in my team. But yeah, I would say
Does the Abaddon bother you? The one that is all blue, looks like he's ulting the whole time.
Oh, maybe there was something with that. There are some sets that works funny with the runes and like the meta when you're dark, like it also covers some runes more, makes it harder to see what's going on. And the Moonlight Shadow again, like I think these two are the most insane.
But speaking of the Abaddon, that fucking taunt is amazing.
Oh yeah.
Holy shit! I figured if you were still playing and you're playing Abaddon, you would definitely be spamming the shit out of that thing.
Of course.
It's god tier. Now,
I might just pick the hero just for it.
Yeah, do you, No Tail, miss anything from... We probably asked you this on the pod. We definitely did. do you miss anything from Han from a player standpoint? Like when you're in a competitive game, being able to like taunt or like the announcer packs or anything like that that you wish that Dota is. If you look at it, Dota has become more extreme over time, but still some things in Han were so far out there, right?
Yeah. I would say, I mean, there were some skins like this. For me, it's like the Zephyr skin, the turkey one. The sound effects were so like. I feel like Dota sometimes goes into this, like the same thing with the weird elephant techies skin. It's like it's kind of a little bit out there. I feel like you could add some more, maybe change the sound for some of the abilities and make like something really funny that just makes you go, what the fuck am I listening to? Like the Zephyr ultimate with the turkey, it was so funny. It goes crazy. But no, I don't know. I would love it if they did something fundamental to Dota still, like maybe more than map changes, but even something else like changing the cast point for all heroes, like making it quicker, like so that they just turn.
Sounds
like,
good.
and you can turn it back at some point. You know, like maybe people don't want to deal with it, but I hear the same shit from every change. You know, people don't want to deal with it at first, but then it just becomes part of the game and it's freshening. You know, and I feel Dota should get some big change like this. Some fundamental change to something. I really like the neutral. Like the concept of some neutral items. I mean, I still think it's kind of game breaking, but I really like the jungle fights back. Like all creeps getting like changed, worked around, stronger, actually fighting back like in the jungle. You know. Also, I feel like Dota patches have just been different for a year or so.
Okay, I got an idea for you. I've been trying to pitch this for years now. Okay, and we're getting to the point where I think it's going to happen after TI because people have been begging for change of the terrain. Okay, obviously they made some slight map changes. I don't know, not that interesting. All right, 2 Roche pits. Okay, 2 Roche pits. One where it is now, and one on the opposite side of the map. The first spawn of Roche is random between the two. Okay, so at the beginning of the game, you can see if it spawned on the south side or the north side. Every time you kill Roche, it alternates spawns. So every game is slightly different. Thoughts? I'm a genius, I know.
Thoughts, you said?
Yes.
I would
Synderen
say
loves the idea.
Dire has like 70% of win rate right now, right? So you gotta change something.
So I like the idea of bouncing back to, you know how the old Roche pit was at when it was like kind of Dire Ancients. I honestly would love, I like one patch where fuck it, like give one that's like this to Radiant or like this to Dire and work around it like you just said, or make 2 bosses that you have to kind of kill both before the timer starts. So it's like not maybe like you don't get the Roche spawn. No, I don't know. Fuck it. You can also just make it random like the runes. I don't mind. Like you have to then fight different territory, adjust and stuff. Like, yeah, sure, why not? I actually don't think it's so bad of an idea. Like just something that really spices things up a bit too, you know?
And
like
change Roshan to be named Kongor. That's also new. I think.
Shannon, what do you think I think of that idea? Do you think I like it or hate
No,
it?
I think you at first were very hesitant because I'm a bullshitter, but I think over time I've broke you down to the point that I think you like it more.
I think it's definitely... Yeah, there's different things you can do about Roche. That's one of them, is to alternate or have a separate spawn or whatever.
But I like what they did with the skins too. Like they made like basically Dota 1 Void and Razor 2. Like and the Razor in Dota 1 was so much cooler with his shield and the staff that kind of went up, not just this whip. Like I feel like he looked way better, and I like that bringing it back too. So things like this, you know, in Dota where you could actually maybe think of way back in the day, like how do things work and do that again. Maybe do something about the runes again, you know? I like when they change the runes too, like how they spawn and how they work. Usually takes weeks before people really adjust and adapt, you know? And I think that's what also makes Dota so awesome.
I really wish they'd bring back, if you're talking about old Dota 1 mechanics, being able to destroy the fountain. What a great mechanic that was.
Devour it? Did you play that patch? Devour it.
Devour? No, I did not know
there was one
that
patch
was
where it was bugged and Doom could just walk in there and devour the fountain.
Oh, shit. That sounds great. defense of your fountain at that point. Gracious.
In Dota 1, without it being a bug, you could frostbite the fountain for years.
Oh yeah,
You
I
would
saw
get
that too.
disarmed and take
Really?
damage. Yeah. The lineup that you killed Fountain with in Dota 1 almost always had Maiden or Omni, right?
Yeah, Omni and Alchemist I remember a lot. For his ult, just be able to
You could change the whole structure of the base too. You know, you have so much space to work with. You could change how things are and how things sit, and maybe, yeah, I don't know, like change how some towers work, like in the base, like they also drain mana or some shit. You know, make some things stronger, some things weaker. I'm really tired of the Zoom meta too, you know, like they destroyed Magnus, and I feel like I want to see strats that are something different too sometimes. I mean, there's just so much, there's minions in every game now.
See, you brought up towers, since we're kind of talking about the Battle Pass, I assume still. You said
Yes,
Razor and Void were like Dota 1 models, right? That they took
It's like the
inspiration
octopus guy again, and then the guy, they get him a shield.
Why, if you're going to keep with that theme, why not make the towers like Dota 1? Those are fucking
Haven't they already
awesome
done
towers. That? No.
I thought
they came out with the Clockwork Shadow Fiend ones that, I mean, it's not exactly. But we need the tree, Roof Trellin throwing rocks, right?
Yeah, I thought we had a trend throwing.
The last one, last year, I think it was a person doing
that was a dragon. The last tower was a dragon. The one before that was the Clockwork, and then the Shadow Fiend lookalikes, like the stone towers. I think those are the only custom towers now.
I don't remember.
So to keep adding to what Johan said, so I know that I am not representative of the Dota ecosystem, but let's say that I play between 3K and 4K. I promise, dude, my games are exactly the same no matter the patch. I don't even see new heroes. I don't see new dynamics. We're playing the same things because we don't have enough like sophistication to when, well, right now this hero is not meta. It doesn't fucking matter. We're playing on 3K. It's like I'm trapped. So unless you change something fundamentally in the map, or add a new dynamic, or add shrines, or add something to teleport, or change the rush speed and put 2 of them, something that fundamentally changes the game, I feel that I've been playing the same game for 3 years already, with nothing changed.
It does feel very
you gotta
similar.
change something.
Yep, I agree.
Yes, obviously on the pro scene, I can see the 1% differences, you know, and how impactful they are. But in my games, they're none.
Well, I think that's another topic of discussion. I don't know how you guys feel about this, but Dota has done a really good job of like catering to pro players for a really long time, which I think is important. But I think it's gotten maybe a little bit too far, and they should start looking at like normal people, because that is 99% of your audience after all. And I think they have been doing that slowly over the course of the last few years, like putting in stuff that makes the game easier to play. Like, or people, they came out with the status bar icons. What are those called? The thing that shows like how long you're stunned for or whatever. People hated it at first, and within a week, it's like, oh, we should have had this years ago. I think more stuff like that would be good.
I think they also streamlined certain hero designs that were really complex, right? Where the depth of the hero in Pro Dota was really high, but the average player couldn't play it. Like Old Wisp or Chen have become way simpler, which, I mean, I personally like the old IO more. You know, Shannon, I'm a sucker for these spells where you sacrifice yourself for the benefit of others, right? And IO used to have that with Overcharge, and now it just makes you better, right? But it used to be an equilibrium hero that was really difficult to play because you needed to like gauge, is this where I start hurting myself to buff my carry or not? This kind of stuff. IO got a lot simpler. It's just flat out a buffing hero now.
You think Chen got more simple? Because all the creeps have way different abilities now.
Yeah, that's true. But I think that the hero is a lot less of a micro. It's less of a micro hero than it used to be, because back then, in order to play a really strong Chen, your micro needed to be exceptional, and now the hero does a lot more with less perfect play, because you're a lot about, you know, farm. You get mech, you have your ults, and it's not so much about this, except on the pro level, right? That's what I'm talking about. But for the average player, I think the new Chen is way more forgiving. I guess that's the best way of saying it.
Fuck all the average players. Dota is a game for the tryhards. Dota is a game for the pros. You can try and catch up. I don't think they should be balanced according to like. I mean, I feel like it should be balanced according to both in some sense, but at the same time, I also feel like unless there's like fundamentally a problem where Podge or Sniper is beating every single Herald game, I feel like it's more maybe about teaching people the way to deal with it or answer it, you know, simply as well. Like there's no good guide system then or something in place, because sometimes things are busted, but I think if you start balancing the game according to more to the average, you are inevitably going in a way where Dota is no longer going to be Dota, because it's always been so complex. You've had these complex heroes from the beginning, and if you change that, I think all these old fuckers are also going to like be less enticed by the game. I think this is what's really enticing for at least a lot of them. You know, I know Puppy's like this. He just plays the hard heroes. Like that's what he says. You know, and then sometimes Ogre. I don't know where that comes from, but
Very hard hero.
Well, he hits hard, so yeah.
Yeah.
So then maybe the sacrifice is you not balance the heroes just for plebs, but at least give me more information on the screen so I can actually know what the fuck is going on, you know?
Or just go fucking crazy and like just do some crazy changes where nobody's sure what's going to happen with this, you know? Like you buff one thing but nerf the other and they interact and you're like, yeah, it's good. Or no, like this has happened so many times, and I think that's what's also the great about the patches. Like the more this happens where you say something is great and it turns out to be shit, or vice versa, like this is super shit, no way you can play this, and it turns out to be great, it means so much complex shit happened that, and it's what makes it feels like a new game.
Okay. So I have a question for you, Johan, then. Imagine that you were playing for $40 million and some smartass just changes something that fundamentally makes you garbage and then makes some other team really good. Will you be saying, whoa,
What is this?
Let's keep
that's a great excuse. What is that patch catering to them? Like you can't learn? Like what is it? Dota's about learning. Like if you can't fucking learn, then get out of here. You know, there's no hope for you. Like this is what the game is about. You have to adapt. You have to learn. Like if you're gonna be one hero player, it's hard, you know. You need, depending on also how the banning system works, you're going to need a certain amount of heroes, and then you're also going to need a team to play around, you know, one of the four if you're a 4-man hero type of guy. Like the game will ask a lot of you, and part of this is also adapting and playing new shit. Like you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone.
Okay, so now that you brought this up,
I agree fundamentally. I just think the threshold, I'm not saying make it easy to play League of Legends or whatever the fuck, these like mobile games, right? It's all about where that threshold is. And I think the thing that concerns me more than anything is the lack of new players, right? I think finding a way to bring in new players, whatever that solution may be, is what I'm most concerned with going forward.
But maybe this is the conversation that you and I have had before, is that I believe that probably Johan is right on the Dota part, but let's bring new players by making new games, mini games, and all that, you know? Like, let's keep the Dota Pro scene like in a way for them, you know?
Go custom games. Woo.
Yes, I think that's the play, you know, custom games.
Yeah.
I think...
Or be smart about it. It's like, so you had Fortnite painted on buses in Australia as a type of advertisement. You know, you get Call of Duty ads on YouTube. Like, Dota doesn't really do anything. I've only seen something when I went to Starladder, I think in Kiev, I saw a Dota ad also on YouTube. But that wasn't paid for by Valve. Like there's no activation like this. I don't think Dota is like as advertisable to the super young age, but I do think, like chess, it's really not that exciting at first glance. Like it's not colorful, it's not many things, but there's a certain audience that's really gonna love it. Same thing with Dota, and I do think you really want to get to them, and then you really want to make it so that they also get a nice introduction, nice way in, and probably you could make systems where you actually try to bring nice people together and make that environment, because that's what it was for me. You know, once you find a nice group to play with, Valorant can also be an experience. I don't mind the toxic shit like now and again. Sometimes it gets a little much, but I agree with you. I think there should be something done, but it's, for the whole history of Dota, I think it's only been the community. It would be cool to try and figure something out, you know, where through funding and whatever, like all this could happen pretty easily, I'm sure.
I have a question for you. Please correct me if I'm wrong. If I am a new player right now, I want to start playing Dota, but Dota is an overwhelming experience. Can I play mini games, or I still need a level something to get into the mini games?
You need level something.
So then how do I get this? It's like I need the mini games to be available for level zeros.
I think with Aghanim's Labyrinth, maybe that was not, I don't think that was the case, but I'm pretty sure, I could be wrong, I guess, but pretty sure you need a certain level to play arcade games. Yeah.
Really?
I think they implemented that to combat bots, right?
Yes.
That were just making accounts and going into arcade and just flooding it with fake games. So
yeah, it was like a Band-Aid solution, and then they just never changed it.
I just wanted to quickly ask Jan one thing, because Shannon and I have been talking about this multiple times, and you're like, you have this mentality of, okay, you need to adapt and overcome. What do you think is the sweet spot for how late you can implement a patch before an event? Like from a pro player perspective, what's the latest before TI that you can patch the game? And it's fair.
I would say 3 weeks is a little tight. I would say 4 weeks is kind of.
Okay.
I would like it from both perspectives, as a competitor and as a viewer, because once you get there, I don't think you have reached. It's enough time for people to build their ideas about the game. It's enough time for regions and people to get split and different ideas about the game. And it's also not enough time that you're going to have like tournaments and exposure. People are not going to want to share either if you're doing it like that. I think you don't want to go up all the way up to 8 weeks potentially. I mean, 8 weeks can also be okay if the patch is great and extensive. It also depends on that. Then 8 weeks works. But yeah, like I do think from at least my point of view, from both experiences, you don't want a patch that's too stale. From a competitive point of view, I think 2 weeks is. I wouldn't mind for like majors and stuff. For TI, it's probably a little. I'll feel a little bad not having more time to learn. 3 weeks is cool enough if you know it's coming. You have time to prepare for this, and so you can grind. And 4 weeks, I think, is a good number.
Okay.
I think it's cool. You get to sharpen your ideas about the game. You get to work on it. Teams get to build some strong shit, and then you get to like a group stage. You get that natural development of ideas and testing ideas. And yeah, I think you have this nice explosion. When you get to TI and it keeps building
Mm-hmm.
Through the playoffs.
But my answer then would be because we have qualifiers and they are separated between weeks. And then we have last chance qualifiers, and then you have the main one.
I mean, this year, and I mean, the whole DBC last year too has been really strange because this has really changed how Dota used to work with this concept of really shaking it up. Like you have chess, you break it down endlessly. You have fucking computers playing the game for 10 years, but the game doesn't change. Dota, you could say that it's similar to that, like in some patches where you get towards some type of breaking it down, and then it's really cool. And I think the whole scene enjoys when it really gets shaken up, and it's not like ground level for everyone, but it's like you definitely get this new experience and a chance to relearn things. Yeah. Oof, I miss the old patches. Because some of them were crazy, at least for me. This one also pretty extensive. I just wish it was a little bit more. Like I do wish it was more.
Have you played the new patch?
Bro, I haven't played a game in like 4 months, I think.
Wow. Not itching to play at all then,
3 months or something.
I mean, you haven't missed much. It's basically the same patch.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'm watching all the time, and I feel like I'm not missing much. There's a few things I now want to try with the latest patch. It could be cool, but
like Centaur Cart? Oh boy, that's a good one right there.
I've been a CM fan for a while now, like just not CM5. Like CM needs to get those items like the BKB, the Shard, the Blink. I think it's great hero, great teamfight tool. And now with the Centaur, even more so. Yeah, no, there's cool stuff, but I'm just watching. Maybe I'll play it soon, but no, not itching.
Is this the longest break you've had from Dota?
I think so. Yeah, I mean, must be. Since before I touched the first game.
Do you want to ask him if he thinks he's going to come back? Go for it.
Are you going to come back, No Tail, to professional play?
I don't know. Next season looks better, like time-wise, but to be frank, I also really want to spend the summer. So I was kind of hoping that if the schedule was going to be the same, then maybe I could spend, the summer not playing, like calculate my year. Because this was also the first summer in my life I didn't grind Dota, or like in my life, like since I started, since I was like 14. So it was kind of nice to not be by the PC when the sun was up. For once.
Yeah, what is that like going outside?
It's kind of nice, not gonna lie. If you get in the groove of it, then yeah, you get your tan build up, so you don't just burn in 1 hour, 2 hours. It's a lot less stressful, and
do the lights behind you help you tan as well inside?
That is almost. Yeah. I think so. They might. Nah, but yeah, it's been good. It's been good. Also gardening. I'm a worm farmer as well.
Wow, that's cool. Very cool.
Very cool.
I do not mean that sarcastic.
No.
That is cool. Having other interests is pretty important. So,
what are your other interests, Shannon? Apart from shitting on basketball teams,
that's the problem.
Basketball.
Just basketball, computers. That's it. That's pretty sad life, actually. I need to. Cats.
Do you miss running a team?
I miss the idea of it. Obviously, the person I was working with, let's say, was a complete psychopath. So don't miss that aspect.
Relatable.
We had a meeting with. It wasn't with this guy though. It was just me, Nikki, and No Tail with Kuroki, I think, actually, where I was trying to recruit No Tail to be on the original DC, and I just remember telling him on the podcast later that you guys dodged a fucking bullet, man. I know. When you guys won the first major, I was jealous. I was like, fuck, because we had a choice between you and the Curtis AUI team. Ignoring that aspect, I fucking loved it. It was great. Like being able to be at boot camps, because I used to play competitively with CS, so I had like some taste for it. But obviously, like back then, it wasn't like as big of a deal as it is now. But just the camaraderie, trying to be a life coach at times, even though I wasn't particularly good at it at that point, at least. I think I do a lot better now. Just being more comfortable with people and trying to work through our troubles. Like the first 6 months, we were dog shit. That team was complete fucking dog shit. But we got to a point where we were really excited. And then as we brought in Soxa, we brought in Resolution. We were trying them out, and we're playing these scrims with Curtis, AUI, and Bulba, and the games were going really well. We're actually really excited. And then Bulba and AUI ended up getting poached by EG. So that was like one of the worst days of my life, actually. I remember feeling so shit.
Come on.
Like just sick to my stomach. Like you put in all this time, all this money, and it's like your dream to have a team. And it just felt like it fell apart. So we just take whatever scraps we can, right? The Rezo socks that are still available, obviously, and then got fucking really lucky with Weehaw and Misery, and just, I mean, we were still shit for a while, but then at TI, they really hit their stride.
Will RTZ ever win a major?
Wow.
Not with the G.
That was a change of topic out of nowhere.
No, I just know. Whenever the topic of EG comes and like poaching players, I feel like RTZ is almost always in the mix of like getting poached to Secret or EG or going somewhere, but that's like, he never won the major, so.
How many second places has he had, though?
Oof.
At majors? 2 or 3?
To wrap it up, not wrap it up, but the last segment is that I want to hear from your, why do you guys make the podcast? How do you feel about making the podcast? How does the podcast, take a place in your life? Because we've only been doing this for 37 episodes or 38.
That's quite a lot.
And it has become an instrumental part of my life, We, in a way, wrap our week around it.
So I guess I'm the one that started the conversation. Let's see, when was this? 2018? Yeah, I was going through a pretty shitty time because my dad had died the previous year. I was at the super major when it happened. It was just like a really fucked up time. And then I didn't get, not to compare the situations, of course, but I didn't get invited to TI, which I was extremely upset about, because the only thing you can go by is like how well you're doing is by Reddit threads. And every time I was at an event, I would get like these really prominent Reddit threads. Like, okay, I guess maybe there's a good chance to go to TI. No, again, not invited. I was into Artifact, which was still in a closed beta, and that obviously went horrifically. I took a break from Dota because of Artifact to try it out, and just nothing was going well. Just absolutely everything was dog shit. And I needed something like consistent in my life, and obviously Synderen has been a good friend for quite a while, so I thought it would be fun to do a weekly podcast. Of course, I never expected him to show up every week. That's the biggest shock every time, is when he shows up for some reason. But just built from that, and yeah, it's turned into something pretty nice. I've enjoyed it quite a bit.
I think when we started it, it was just like, this is something that we think could be fun. Let's just try it out and see if people enjoy it. It's a lot of ideas in Dota are just, passion projects to begin with. And then I guess it was something that when you look to other games and other scenes, that Dota didn't really have as much of like an integrated podcast coverage of its game than other scenes did. And something really appealing for both of us, I'm sure he would agree with, is when you're running your own podcast, you can talk about whatever the fuck you want. So you just derail the conversation, talk about something totally different than Dota. And it's always kind of been our vibe with the podcast that there's like certain news in Dota that we talk about, but then aside from that, we'll take whatever spin on it we want. We'll talk about something in gaming that has nothing to do with Dota. We'll talk about movies. We'll talk about sports. We'll talk about our fruit tier list from 1 to 23, you know, like whatever it is. It's just our thing, you know, it's about us. And I think that's what's really appealing for us about it is, you know, just kind of being ourselves. And that people, I've always said this about broadcasting as well, is that I feel like people interact and enjoy a product more. You can tell that people are just having a good time making it, right? Like that's always, when we're casting together as well, we try to, you know, we're genuinely having fun. We're not like putting on an act of pretending to have fun. You know, at least I'm not. Maybe Shannon is putting up with me, like laughing because he has to. But yeah, we're enjoying ourselves. And obviously it turned into something bigger. Like over time, people were like, I think, Shannon, it was the fans that came to us and were like, why don't you guys make a Patreon? We want to pay to watch the podcast, essentially. Because we ran it for quite a while with no financial incentives. And then over time, people wanted a Patreon, and then sponsors got interested. So now it's also a profitable thing that we run every week. So that's really cool.
That's amazing. I have enjoyed it for a long time. For us, I think that we are in a very different place in a little bit, because I think that Johan and I wanted to start something together, and I think it was very good for Johan to be seen as a human, not only no tail. So people knew Johan, and he is a great mind and a great person, and I needed to give him a little bit more, let's say, a platform, you know, for him to talk about his ideas, you know, as he's like taking a break and all that. But we very quickly saw that we could not speak freely as you guys could in your podcast. We have too many sponsors, too many people that have ideas of what we should talk and not talk about. And very quickly, because the idea was like, oh, dude, we'll just get on the phone and we'll just chat. And we'll talk about partying, about dating, about anything like that. And I was like, yeah, no, we can't. Like, none of these beats will actually make it into the podcast ever. We realized that we kind of have to keep it more like on the Dota world, or talking live with Dota people. And we
or the
obviously
movies
we don't
and
want
stuff.
to,
I think is great topics too. You know, like share.
We do.
Yeah.
But you can see our algorithm when we are talking Dota about topics of Dota, it really rewards us, you know, and we get the 30 to 40 to 50,000 views. When we're just talking shit, and it's just Johan and me, it's only like 7 to 8, 9,000. So it really shows that maybe there is a product market fit for just talking about Dota and just keeping it Dota related, and then we can get the sponsors, we can grow it to 30 to 40 to 50. I think that if we do a good job by episode, let's say 80, we can plateau it at 40 and 50K views. That would be really good with guests.
For a podcast, it's extremely good. Yeah. Especially in Dota.
But I don't know if that's the one that we were happy to make, because that's not what we were trying to make. We were trying to do something. We were just talking shop and just talking things and all that. So I don't know. I think we played with a bunch of different formats, you know? So we always said we were not an interview podcast. We're not a guest podcast. It was just Johan and me and Seb. But then we actually had to do it because we were running out of topics to talk about as well. Because we're so limited, you know, by things that we can talk about. And then we said, okay, let's invite guests. And then the guests obviously add a lot of really cool things into it. But then I didn't want, in a way, the brand of the podcast just be based on the guests, because then we don't have any fans of the podcast. We just have fans of the people that come in. Our guest, for example, the Anna episode has 160,000 views. Okay, but that's the Anna effect. It's not the podcast effect. That's just Anna. You put Anna somewhere and it just pops. And we've done like watch parties and we've done a bunch of other things. But I think that and this is a compliment, is your chemistry is unmatched. We don't have that. You guys are so much better than us entertaining, so much better than us making things fun. And I watch you guys every week. For us, we have to make it more topic-based podcast in order to provide an entertainment.
You are too kind. I don't agree, but you are too kind.
I'm funny.
You know you're funny.
I'm funny.
You know that you both are very, very funny.
You try to be.
So I know you know this, but I'm just going to try to put words into it so the fans can understand it. I think that your podcast and some of my favorite podcasts, it creates a sense of friendship and community. I feel that I'm your friend because I'm just there watching you, even though it's only one way, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I get to watch you guys and it's like, oh, I get to hang out with these guys, you know, for an hour every week. It would be the same thing that me going to play basketball with my friends or going to play D&D, you know, with my friends. The whole idea is not to play D&D. I don't care about D&D. It's more
I
about
think
you
the
get
way
to spend.
it's funny because at first it seems like it's an easy thing to accomplish, but like the way that I look at it from just a viewer standpoint, like I take a lot of inspiration from NBA. I don't know if you've heard of a show called the fuck's it called? Inside the TNT show.
Yeah, the Inside
Charles,
NBA with
Inside the
Charles,
NBA.
Yeah, of course.
So the way that they have done stuff for years, I take inspiration from all the time. They just don't give a fuck, right? Like Charles Barkley's best person on TV, in my opinion. So I think having a level of that with obviously not going to the extreme, just finding the balance is actually tougher than it looks. But just by being able to do that, you feel very free, and it just makes things more fun. And as a result, it feels more organic, and people feel like they hang out with you. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like
overall.
what I said about us being able to talk about whatever we want. I mean, obviously there is a limit, right, that you can't cross, but for the absolute most part, and that's also what I think what it comes down to as well with like interference or whatever you want to call it with sponsorships is that I think it's really important for us that if there are people that want to sponsor or have an influence in the podcast, they can get like a segment, but they can't dictate the way the podcast is. They're buying into our idea of what we're running. We haven't had sponsors come in and be like, hey, okay, we'll sponsor your podcast, but only if you guys are more professional or don't go off topic or whatever. Like, because it's like, okay, well then what do we do, right? Because that's our
but
thing.
for us, the sponsors are tied in a way to OG as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So if
I mean,
you
I totally
have
understand
the
your
CEO
perspective.
and Johan talking about
absolutely, it's a different
like, okay,
it's a different format, and you have different responsibilities and commitments that we don't have, and I think that's probably just why the formats and the directions are just different, right?
I have to pee so bad. I don't know if you're planning to wrap it up.
I would say 5 more minutes. You want to go pee? We can finish here. Just go pee.
Okay, I'll be right back.
Go. So yeah, I was gonna say that obviously we have good things and bad things, you know, because of how we play it. The good things is that we have such an immense fan base that pretty much anything we do works. Like, to one level or another one. You know, if I show up just by myself, even though I'm not famous, and I just record myself talking for an hour, I'll have 4,000 people watching. But obviously, the moment you bring Johan, you bring Seb, you bring Topson, like I have access to these people that are in a way part of our friendship group. And one of the things that is being, again, I keep moving my own barriers, you know? I said, I don't want to invite anybody that I'm not friends with. But now I'm inviting you guys, and I invited other people that I'm not friends with. But so I don't have the chemistry with you. We kind of have to build it here. But the idea is, in a way, what I told myself, I am not going to invite people that I don't want to be friends with. So hopefully by the time we start building it, you know, this is something that we can all enjoy. And the second rule was I don't want to invite someone that I'm not a fan of. So, because I need to know something about this. So no, I know this relationship is weird, but I have spent years and years and years watching you both work. So for me, this is more like, hey, this is my love letter to you guys, just like Road to TI is my love letter to Topias or to Amar or to things like that. And when we bring Effie and when we bring like these guys, honestly, it's awesome. It's in a way, I found a way to justify me hanging out with people that I want to hang out with.
You can have any Valve employees on? That's going to be a telling story.
That will be.
So I've invited a few of them, and they were not really excited to join.
Same.
Yeah, they always say no.
Even though I explained that, but you guys have Casey. You got Casey in yours.
No, that was just a picture of Casey that I put as a thumbnail.
So you actually never had
We've
Casey.
never had anyone from Valve on the podcast.
Who do you want? If you could have anybody, who do you want?
Ice Frog, of course. I've asked him. That's a long shot. I think Gabe would be second. I guess Bruno would have to be up there. I mean, everybody recognizes him. So,
yeah.
Do you think that there's a world that Ice says yes? That Frog says yes?
No.
There is no world.
I mean, nothing is 0%, right? Nothing is zero. So I shoot my shot. You know,
Are you willing to troll it and put somebody else with like a dark background and no light on their face? And
I thought about it, but it might anger the frog. So it's the one man I don't want to upset.
These are the episodes where I play Valve. We had a podcast where I play Valve inside OG.
No.
Because I couldn't never get a Valve employee, so I play Valve.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I will defend everything like if I was working for Valve.
It can sometimes be very hard to
That's
do.
actually a really funny idea. That's a funny concept.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to be Valve in your podcast. And it was Kyle and all these guys was asking me questions. And I'm like, guys, you guys don't understand. And I was explaining it through a Valve
I'm sure they love
point
that
of view.
one.
I watched, this was a show that was
You think
on,
they watch it?
I think it was on British TV many years ago. It was called Argumental. I've told you about the show, Shannon, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Does that ring a bell to any of you?
No.
So it's basically a show where they had like these big names in British comedy in two different teams, and then they would give them prompts and they had to argue for or against it and win over the crowd. So it would be like the most obnoxious thing that they had to defend, and the prompts were like hilarious and the guys were like really creative.
Ladies and gentlemen, big supermarkets are ruining this country.
Okay, next up, opposing Rufus but supporting big supermarkets, it's Will Smith.
Thank you. I'd like to say that far from ruining Britain, supermarkets are actually enhancing all our lives. They're giving us choice. I don't want locally sourced produce. I live in London. What am I going to get? Rats, pigeons, and dog shit. Well, that's one pie I don't want to bake.
It was so fucking funny to watch.
But that is in a way debate team, you know, in high school.
Yeah, it was like that, but it was with, you know, debate team in high school is not really about being funny, it's about being right. This was a lot about like coming up with absolutely hilarious ideas so people thought it was funny and would vote for you, right? That's really funny. You could look it up. There's a lot of the videos on YouTube still in shit quality.
We'll look into it.
Maybe you'll like it.
So to wrap it up, what is the thing that you look the most forward from the next few months? TI? Just seeing what happens in TI, Singapore?
I'm about to launch my custom game that I've been working on for a year, so that one I'm looking forward to the most.
But doesn't every patch break custom games?
Yeah, that's right. Actually, it hasn't been that bad lately, but I've been told it should be okay, so we'll see. Crossing my fingers.
You want to talk about it a little bit more, or how secret it is?
No, it's not a secret. I've been playing it on stream all the time, so it's just something I've been working on with Jenkins and a team of coders for almost a full year. That has consumed literally all of my time. I've been averaging probably 30 hours a week if I had to average it throughout that year, on top of everything else. But it's a cross between Atomic War, or like auto chess, like these auto battlers, and ability draft. So you're basically like buying abilities and putting them on empty heroes and then just mixing and matching, essentially. Categories, tier 5 being the absolute worst, which is why you can see I get these god-awful choices. But you'll get a strength, agi, or int choice. I get Phoenix. The spells down here cost 3 gold, as it says, and you will lose your gold, and I have 4 right now. You lose your gold every round, so you want to spend it. And I'm actually going to roll once. Okay, none of these are particularly great for level 1. I'm going to take Mana Break, and then I just drag it to the body. So Phoenix now has Mana Break. But the way the game works is you buy abilities, you combine them, or you put them on certain heroes to get cool combos. Eventually you will have 5 heroes in play, or 5 bodies, I guess is the best way to put it. But the more duplicate spells you find, the stronger the spells get. So for Mana Break, if I hover over... What the hell? What is going on with IO? Okay, this is a bug. Sorry to Bailey. Not sure which... There was a new patch that came out for Dota that can sometimes fuck things up. And we're seeing me get a free win because of it, so that's great to see. All right. And it's been... We've gotten extremely good. We've gotten a very good reception. Not worried about it doing well. I think it's going to do well, but the question is, will it reach the Chinese scene? Because I've been told that's the only way your custom game can live. But we'll see. Yeah, we got a lot of streamers coming in to take part in the launch in the next... We haven't officially announced the dates yet, but it's like in the next week and a half or so, hopefully. if things go well.
That's
So
awesome.
we'll see.
Well, like I mentioned to you in Arlington, anything we can do. I believe minigames is the future of my existence in Dota. I only play minigames. I, to this day, play GMTD every day, more than I play normal games. So anything we can do.
Didn't they make that in actual Steam?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
I think so. Or is it that
They made
one?
a standalone.
There's a
I
couple
don't know, one of the
TDs.
TDs. Yeah, that's true. I get them mixed up maybe.
And for you, Synderen, what are you looking forward to the most?
Yeah, so I generally, the way I plan my life, I don't really plan very far ahead in general. So for me, I'm mainly looking forward to TI, obviously, which is coming soon. And then from a Dota perspective, probably just looking forward to hopefully a big shakeup. I think this patch was a bit of a breath of fresh air, and I think a lot of the stuff in this is good, but I'm kind of with Johan that I think we need something bigger to really shake things up. Looking forward to some different video games, I guess, that have no release date, so who knows when they're coming out.
What else do you want to play?
Probably.
What do you play?
Number one on my list, Hollow Knight Silksong.
Okay.
I think is going to be amazing. But that has been postponed, which in this day and age with video games, I take as a really good sign when things get postponed, because I feel like people ship games that aren't ready. So it's better that you wait and finish it. But sometimes the stakeholders are like, we got to make that money. You need to launch it now. And it just sucks. So many great games die because they launch half a year too early, in my opinion. So I'm excited for that. Aside from that, I mean, that's kind of a boring answer, but I don't really feel like I have something really big on the docket, like Shannon's video or Shannon's own custom game that we put a lot of time and effort into. It's mainly just Dota stuff that I'm looking forward to, and the rest just comes as it does. I'm sure there will be something great. I just don't know what it is yet, but generally good things happen. So.
How about you, Johan? What do you have going on?
Oh, I plan also not very far ahead, even less. Just excited for pumpkin soup tomorrow, I think. That's kind of it.
Is it your own
day.
Pumpkins?
No, it's actually the neighbor. He has a big garden.
Oh,
We went by to
nice.
check it out, and he gave us tomatoes. We made tomato sauce and pasta tonight. And tomorrow we'll make a pumpkin soup.
There's something really tranquil about that idea. I've thought about that, like how cool it would be to live in, like, it would obviously be super inconvenient, but like imagine living in like a medieval society for a week, like really just, where you had to like trade with people with goods. You didn't maybe have money, like you're trading an egg for a bit of this and that, and you
Burning
like,
Man.
have to cook everything.
You can just go to Burning Man
like,
if you want.
I mean,
There's no currency in Burning Man. If you take the drugs out, you still have the other experience.
I guess. I mean, I think there's something really charming and like kind of wholesome about that idea of, sharing food with your neighbor. That sounds awesome to me. I think that must be really nice.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully there's also an abundance of food, and then everybody can have whatever they want, and you can take the seeds out of the tomato to make it even better. And yeah. There's but their food grows so fast here in Portugal. It's crazy. Like I grew so much squash in no time and no space. I got so sick of squash in 2 weeks. I couldn't deal with it anymore, You feel the urgency to eat it. Otherwise, you grew it for nothing. But
that's when people started selling. Was when they grew too much for themselves very quickly.
Yeah, but also the kind of crops we have these days, like they were not like this in medieval times. The chickens, the crops, like all the things right now are just fucking. They're so big and they grow so fast. So I'm just looking forward to that tomorrow. Not looking forward to a Singapore flight, like 20 hours. I'm already dreading it, but we'll get there.
Awesome.
What about you, James?
Well, I'm flying tonight to Saudi to try to convince the government to do more Riyadh Masters once every year. And I'll be meeting with the head of Esports there as a representative of Dota. I think that is, for me, is Singapore. It's Singapore. I need a little bit of live Dota and TI. Because in a way, this team that we had, we talked about it many times during the podcast. We never really thought it was going to work this well. Our idea was like, well, we'll have a whole year building, for a pinnacle at TI. But obviously they peaked really well during the season and they've been really consistently good. Now, this is the big test, This is the Rocky, finally, third act of the movie, What happens when you go to the biggest tournament in the year with the biggest team, with the biggest captains, with the biggest stage, So I'm just really, really excited about seeing how they gel together. Because it's obviously, you both all know, it's very different gelling in a minor or in a major or online than gelling on TI. So I think it would be like...
Well, the track record so far is very good.
Yeah, we've been building it for so long that finally we want to see it in full action. I think that the one we saw in Arlington was a real testament, but it was with Sep. So we've never seen it full flesh and full throttle with.
That's true.
With Misha.
Yeah, that's true. How does Amar feel about the Mars nerfs that were literally from Malaysia and playing Mars in Malaysia?
I mean, that's part of the challenge, I guess. You know, it was part of it. Like you win, you get nerfed, and that meant you learned and you did things really well. So sometimes it sucks, you know, and it's really hard to win a tournament and win the next one. It's really hard, and I think they made TI harder for themselves in many ways, but you can always turn these things to your advantage as well. Wings lost the last Beyond the Summit. They were last place at Manila Major, lost the Summit, I think. Did they lose or did they win that one? I think they lost.
They won the Summit, right?
Did they win?
I think so.
Maybe they were the winners. But anyways, they were last place Manila, and I think that made them less like on the radar and made people like look at them less and whatever. And now I think those guys, like the young guys at OG, they have a big challenge ahead of them. Like they have, you know, the brand. People are going to be looking at them no matter what. They've had a good year. Won the last major. Oh my God, you know, it's like the full hurricane for pressure. But at the end of the day, it's all an illusion. And I think the guys have figured it out. So hopefully they get a TI where they can perform their best and see how far it takes them and not let some stupid inside stress get to them.
I had a moment of fanboy in Arlington because it was before going into the stage. It was LGD, Spirit, and OG. I was like, fuck. All these players are right now in front of me. None of them are talking to each other. But it's like I have so much respect and like admiration for all of them, you know? Fuck, you see LGD and it was like, these guys are all individually amazing and collectively amazing. Now Spirit is scary as hell. I mean, Spirit looks right now super scary. There is some teams that might think that we are scary as well, you know? It's hard for us to put ourselves there. So I think that this year there is a few...
I mean, they won the last major, right? I mean, they won the Arlington major, sorry.
Yeah, Spirit won Arlington major and we won the Malaysia. And
we won Malaysia and LGD. Yeah, I mean, this is also the first TI where you have 3 teams kind of going in as favorites, I guess. It's kind of hard to say, like, one is definitely better than the other. Like, every TI, you have a favorite. You maybe have, like, somebody who's also strong next to them. But now you have 3 teams, and I'm trying to be objective. I think all 3 teams, they just look really on par. Like, they play really fucking good Dota. They understand the game. And then you have, I don't want to say other guys because that sounds really rude, but you do have people who are not as high tier in terms of expectations.
Yep. So that is exciting because
should be a good TI.
I want to see those TIs. I want to see those teams. And now the crazy part is that I am betting, well, not betting financially, emotionally, with Entity. I want Entity and TI because I think they're fucking amazing. So that's my dark horse.
It's a decent chance for sure.
I would love to see them there because they work their ass off.
I need to see Secret back at TI. Not gonna lie.
Secret, Entity. Those are my 2.
Love Cyborg Matt and I love Roma Rezo. So
another TI without Nigma.
So that will be the last thing of the question. That will be my last part of the podcast. Is you want to take a stab about which 3 teams make it from Europe?
Yeah. What do you think?
I think I'm actually pretty convinced that Nigma and Secret will make it, and then the third one is probably who are left.
Entity
that are
or Liquid?
Frontrunners. Entity, Liquid. There's one more.
Alliance.
Right?
Alliance, of course.
Is that it? Am I not forgetting one?
Or Good Squad or Brame. Depends what you want to put.
If I'm not forgetting one, then I'm even more confident in those 3. So Entity, Secret, and Nigma, and I think it actually depends on the bracket for me.
So Liquid doesn't.
I think Secret. I don't think so.
Liquid last place, below everyone else.
They're below those 3.
So I agree with you. By the way, those are 3 of my picks. But Liquid not making it. Oof. I remember the beginning of the season. The roster on paper was like the super roster.
It's
that's why we call them the White Donkey.
Yeah,
they have all the expectations and then they don't do
well. There's the dark horse and then there's a white donkey.
They are the White Donkey.
So the thing for me about the bracket that is really important is that I think Secret's track record against Nigma is terrible. So I actually think who gets first place really depends how the bracket plays out. Because I think Entity have a higher chance of beating Nigma than Secret do.
I mean, the bracket
is kind of like a rock, paper, scissors thing almost, depending on... Oh, it is?
Yeah.
Can they run into each other? Secret and Nigma until the finals?
1 second, sir.
All right, while you find this, I have a question.
They meet in the upper bracket finals if they win out.
Okay, so just a quick question while you find this. You have your clear top 3 favorites going into TION. Over under 50.
No, I don't know. I think Liquid's better than Entity.
I mean OG.
TI is
OG,
like,
LGD, and Spirit.
excuse me.
So those 3 teams are the big 3. Over under 50% that not all 3 teams make top 6.
That all those under
under 50% that one team of them does not make top 6. Okay, that's maybe too easy. Let's say top 8 even, actually.
No, I would even say it's still above 50% with top 6. And the reason why I would say it, for all 3. The reason I say it is I think none of these teams are going to let the stupid bullshit get to them. I think all of them, they've shown that they don't let their title and the pressure get to them. I mean, LGD has the longer track record out of all. I think they're always had a strong showing, like the org also puts on, always just good squads. They've had some of the players stay for a very long time. Some are new, but still. And, Wings people and Shao 8 and whatever. It's like, this team will for sure be in the top 3, I want to say. Like, that's way above 50%. Like, probably 80% that they're in the top 3 or 90%, maybe more. And then, maybe... I mean, I'm of course I'm the most worried for OG, but that's just regardless. Like, that's just because I'm always going to be worried for them. But they've shown that they don't care about pressure. They've shown that I have no reason to worry, but I will always worry. And Spirit, like, again, they could flunk. Honestly, I think a team like this that's very emotional. I think if they have a rocky couple games, maybe it will get to them. Like at least I've been there, and there's a lot of things that go into your head, like, did I fucking work all this time for this? Like, if you have high expectations, these are like things that go into your head. It's like, what am I doing here? Like, why are we not doing so well? Is it because of this guy? Is it because of me? Like, people might be thinking different things, and these things can fester. So they could bomb out, I think, if they don't, or if some bad games happen and they let it get to them. I don't think it will happen to OG LGD. But still, over 50% at all 3 of them in top 6.
Yep, okay. Me too. Do you see the screen right now? I don't know if you see it.
Yeah.
So I think that this is the interesting part. I think that Liquid beats Nigma here, but I think Liquid dies here and dies here. I don't think they make it past this.
I think Nigma goes all the way in upper bracket together with Secret, and then I think Nigma beats Secret in the upper bracket final because of that team dynamic, and then it's a matter of what happens after that in lowers into grand final, because I think Secret have a chance of learning a lot from one series against Nigma. The problem is if those teams play again, right? Let's say they play upper bracket finals and then they play again in the grand finals. I think I think Nigma have the higher chance of learning more about Secret than vice versa. That's how it always goes. Okay. So it's hard to argue against history, right? But all of it's.
What about Water Rune Enjoyers?
Best name, no doubt.
What is this? What is this team?
So what happens with this Team Secret and Entity? Let's say that both of them make it here. Who wins?
I think Secret beats Entity.
So and
then I think Entity goes all the way in the lower bracket until they meet Liquid. Secret or Nigma, whoever lost the upper bracket. So here could be Entity Liquid here. Yes, that is very possible. And I think Entity wins that.
Wow.
I think Liquid would win it. I mean, I think it's close to 50-50, but I think Liquid's still a stronger team.
Liquid are better online than they are on LAN.
Yeah, they're better on LAN.
The White Donkey.
That's true.
White donkeys always make the LAN, then they fail. That's the rule.
Well, gentlemen, this was an incredible podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope we can do more collaborations in the future. Hopefully, in the future, TI. We'll see what happens. But no, it was amazing. It was a privilege having you here, and I'm very grateful that you took the time to be here.
Yeah, appreciate it. Thanks a lot, guys.
Good luck with the minigame.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck. I can't wait to try it. Yeah, it sounds like my type of game, nice and I hope it's chill, right? It's like it's one of those battles.
We try to make it chill.
Yeah. I don't want to work too hard.
Understandable.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody. Have a great weekend.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.